If there is one movie you should see this June, then it's definitely Spider-Man Across the Spiderverse. I mean, that movie was fantastic. But if there is another movie you should see this June, it's Transformers Rise of the Beasts. With a 5-year gap between the last Transformers movie, that being Bumblebee, Rise of the Beasts had a lot to live up to. Especially given the fact that Bumblebee was a fantastic movie with a lot of heart in it. But how exactly does this stack up to its predecessor? Well, in my opinion, I still think Bumblebee is a better film, but Rise of the Beast is still really fun and entertaining. But before I get into the review, I must warn you that there will be some pretty heavy spoilers for this movie. So if you haven't seen it yet, stop watching, go watch Rise of the Beasts, and come back to this video. It ain't going anywhere anytime soon. You back? Good. Let's begin. The plot of this movie goes as follows. The Maximals, who are basically Transformers that can turn into giant robotic animals, are having their planet be invaded by Unicron. So Ape-Link tasks Optimus Primal and the rest of the Maximals to escape with this MacGuffin called the Transwarp Key, which they do. This prevents Unicron from escaping to other planets to consume them. Years later, we meet our main human characters, Noah and Elena. Noah is an ex-military guy who is good with electronics and is trying to find a job to pay for his younger brother's medical bills, and Elena is an intern at a museum who accidentally activates half of the Transwarp Key. This catches the attention of Optimus Prime and the other Autobots, who try to recover the Transwarp Key to get home. But it is taken by Scourge and the rest of the Terracons, who are basically minions of Unicron. They then have to travel to Peru to find the other half of the key and end up meeting the Maximals. But Scourge ends up taking the lost part and prepares for Unicron's arrival. Now the Autobots and the Maximals have to team up to defeat Scourge and stop Unicron from consuming the Earth. Right off the bat, most of you will notice that this plot isn't the most complex, as it is just another, oh, we need to get a thing before the bad guys, but oh no, the bad guys have it, so now we need to stop them. But it does its job in order to get us from point A to point B. And at least it isn't as complicated or convoluted as the other films. Speaking of the other films, this movie has some of the best action in the entire series. The fights are a lot of fun and they have really good choreography. My only complaint is that I wish they were a bit longer because with the exception of the final battle, which is legitimately awesome, they kinda go a bit too fast for me to appreciate. Another thing I like though? The characters. Optimus Prime is really good in this movie. A few of his line deliveries are a bit off as they don't really sound like he's showing a lot of emotion during them. He just has the same stoic warrior voice he usually has. But that is only like 5% of his lines, and it is in no way Peter Cullen's fault. It was probably just a few mistakes by the voice director's end. But, again, it's only a few lines. But outside of that, Optimus is great in this movie. He does start off like Bayverse Prime, where he's a bit of an energon-thirsty maniac. I mean, one of his lines was literally, "I'm going to take back Scourge's key and then take off his head." Forgive me for my terrible Prime impression. But when he slowly starts to trust Noah, he becomes more like his G1 self. And honestly, this makes sense to me. He blames himself for stranding him and his team on Earth, so naturally he would be a bit of a hard ass. Moving on to Primal, and oh man, I love this dude. If it wasn't obvious enough, he is by far my favorite character in the entire franchise, and he was great here too. Definitely my favorite character in the entire movie. Ron Perlman did a perfect voice for Primal, as he actually managed to sound like a leader who cherished every one of his teammates' lives, and even the lives of those who they protected. That's not to say he didn't have his own badass voice moments, quite the contrary actually, he had plenty. I also really like how he and the other Maximals have formed bonds with the human tribe that they look after, and that being the cause for Optimus beginning to trust humans. It's just really cool. And the CG, he was so expressive, I love it. That moment when he had to kill Airazor, he looked so sad, and that hurt me. I don't want to see my monkey boy sad. Airazor was also a really cool character. Michelle Yeoh knocked it out of the park with her, And that moment when Primal has to kill her because she's being controlled by Scourge actually got a tear out of me, my poor monkey boy. I don't like it when my favorite characters are sad. It also sucks that we never got to see her actually transform into her bot mode. I definitely hope we get a prequel film with the Maximals so we get to see more of them because they were really underutilized in this movie in my opinion. Scourge was also awesome. Peter Dinklage delivered his lines perfectly, and it really made for such a chilling performance. He really put the terror in TerrorCon. That was such a cringe-ass line. I'm so sorry for that. Apparently, he had a subplot where he was forced into being a servant of Unicron, and honestly, I'm kind of mixed on that. Because on one hand, I like that he's evil just because he's evil and no other reason, but on the other hand, it would have been nice to see more to his character. Either way, he's still really cool, and his habit of taking the emblems of the Transformers he kills is also cool, and it adds a lot more of a fear factor to him, especially when he does it to Bumblebee. Speaking of the boy, he didn't get to do much in this film, but that was mostly because he was basically dead for the majority of the film, but his comeback scene was legitimately fantastic. The 90s music really helped in that scene, in my opinion. And honestly, I'm not really that against the 90s music. Like, I mean, I wasn't really against it in the Mario movie, so I'm not really against it here. It's just something that was there. Nothing too big of a deal, in my opinion, but whatever. Moving on to a character who actually was in the movie for more than 5 seconds, Mirage! He was actually pretty good in this movie. His comedy is a little hit or miss for some people, but I actually really like him in this film. I thought he was funny, and Pete Davidson did a great job voicing the character. Apparently, he also ad-libbed some of his lines, so that's pretty cool. His relationship with Noah was also super cool, and his sacrifice was really emotional for me, because I really like him. More on this later. Finally, Noah and Elena are probably the best human characters next to Charlie, especially Noah. I felt really invested in his story and his relationship with his brother. I can definitely say that this movie has a lot of heart to it. But unfortunately, just as there are many positives in this movie, there are also a few negatives that I'd like to go into. Now, the pacing in this film, I feel like it goes a bit too fast because a lot of the characters don't get to do much in this movie. They don't really have a lot of moments to flesh them out. Cheetor did have a few speaking lines, but he was really horribly sidelined in this film. And honestly, that really sucks because he has probably one of my favorite designs in this entire movie. Not as bad as Rhinox though. Bro didn't get any speaking lines at all. I really feel like these two needed to be a lot more important to the story. Hell, even two of the Autobots, Wheeljack and RC, were horribly sidelined as well. Which really sucks because not only did Cristo Fernandez and Liza Koshy do a good job voicing the characters, and yes, I do like Pablo in this movie. Apparently they were even supposed to have their own little romantic relationship in the film, which I would have loved to see. I think that their personalities would bounce off of each other really well. Another thing I didn't really like in this movie, Bumblebee continuing to use the radio to speak. Look, I think it's cute that the boy goes into drive-in theaters and records lines from movies to communicate with his team. But it's been done to death at this point. I really hope B gets his voice back in the next film. That is like the one thing The Last Night did that I actually liked. Maybe they can even bring back Dylan O'Brien because I thought he did a great job when he voiced Bumblebee and, well, Bumblebee. Also, Mirage coming back after Noah rebuilt him honestly ruins his sacrifice in the movie. It just makes me feel like there are no consequences to any Transformer dying, and if they can rebuild Mirage, why can't they bring back Airazor? Look, I get that Mirage is cool, but you can't have your cake and eat it too. Finally, I gotta talk about that ending. Now, do I think that it's actually a negative? No. But do I think it is weird to have G.I. Joe and Transformers in a cinematic universe? Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm just tired of the idea of the cinematic universe because Marvel has kind of done it to death. But, like, really? You guys are gonna start a cinematic universe with G.I. Joe? I mean, I'm not against it. Imagine having Snake Eyes and Bumblebee teaming up or something like that. That'd be sick. And hell, maybe they can even get John Cena from Bumblebee in this, because he was kind of like a military guy and he has experience with Cybertronians and stuff. That'd be pretty cool. I don't know, I just feel like it was a bit of an odd choice. Especially for the second movie in your cinematic universe. Overall, I did really enjoy this movie. The action was spectacular, the character moments that are in the film are really impactful. The CGI is also really good. It definitely could have used a lot more of the Maximals and the other Autobots, and Unicron was awesome. I didn't mention him a lot, but he was cool. Overall, I'd give it an 8 out of 10. It wasn't like a super impactful movie that made you question the life you live or anything like that. It was just giant metal monkey and truck robot fight other truck robot and planet destroying god robot. And you know what? That's all it needed to be. And I think it did its job really well. But what do you guys think? Did you agree with me or did you disagree with me? Should I have rated it higher or lower? Tell me what you think, and while you're commenting, why not also hit that subscribe button and like the video while you're at it? Also, follow me on Twitter and Instagram, or I'll force you to watch Transformers The Last Night. Anyway, with that all out of the way, I will see you in my next video. Bye! Hello, hi, yes, I forgot to mention in this video that it was actually my 100th video! Yay! It's actually kind of funny because the 100th Studio Series figure for Transformers was actually Rise of the Beasts Bumblebee. So it's nice to see that Rise of the Beasts has like this whole 100 thing going on. Like the 100th figure of Studio Series was a Rise of the Beasts figure, and it was Bumblebee, and my 100th video is a review of Transformers Rise of the Beasts. It's just pretty cool. So yeah, this is my 100th video. Yay! I would also like to thank you all for sticking out with me for so long through this entire journey, and I hope to make 100 more videos. Anyway, with that all out of the way, I will officially see you guys in my next video. Bye.